In the previous tutorials, we have learned how to use the built-in tools in Excel like goalseek and solver to automate our task. And recently we have also noticed some of their drawbacks. So in this tutorial, we'll learn how to fill those gaps. You see, the VBA in Excel comes into action for solving such issues. VBA is all about writing all lines of codes to perform the desired output. But there is always an easier way to do the tasks in Excel. We can explore what kinds of codes the Excel is tracing for our activity in worksheets by recording the macro. For that, you need to click on developer tab, and if you don't have this developer tab open, then you can enable it by going to the file options, and under the customize ribbon section, make sure that the developer is checked here. Okay, let's begin today's tutorial by recording a macro. There are two kinds of recording. One is recording with relative referencing and recording with the absolute referencing. In our case, we'll stick to the absolute referencing because for each sets of iterations, or every time we run that particular macro, we want that particular cell to be highlighted, which is why we have selected an absolute referencing here. We record the macro, and now we'll run what kind of codes will be executed if we run the goalseek tool. So we will give a similar name to this macro as goalseek. I press OK. Now I go to the data of body analysis goalseek, and like we did previously, I'll set the cell here as this one to a value of, I want to check what the height is when the volume of the tank is 100 gallons, and we'll perform that by changing this cell. Okay, and it has spit me a solutions of this very inch. Okay, now I can stop my recording, and to view the codes I can move to the Visual Basic tab. Under the modules, I can see my executed codes while I was performing the goalseek. So if you remember, while performing the goalseek, I selected this particular cell, so it has assigned a own unique code for that action, which we don't need in our iterations. So I'm simply cancelling this, and I can skip all the way to the goalseek sub. This sub here is like in other programming language, it's like a defining function but without any arguments. These lines of codes, I believe they don't have any use in our work, so I simply cancel them. I need to make sure that this particular goalseek actions must be run for this all column values of columns here. So there are 33 times this goalseek is to be performed in our background while you run that macro. So I need to repeat this activity for 33 times. For that, I need to run a for loop where the value of I starts from 1 to 33, and after each iteration I need to assign the new value to I. As we have used a parameter here, I need to set its data type as integer because I always carries a non-fractional value, and for each iteration this particular cell must be highlighted. So we write our own code for that task, that is range name of cell, that's B16, dot select rng range b16 dot select. Now we don't want this goal seek to perform its activity for the value of 100. Rather, we want it from 100 to 3300. So to change this selection, this particular selection for each round of iterations, we need to make a little modification in our code, like active cell dot offset, and its syntax is the location of rows then locations of column. That is, location of row is always I minus 1, because for this particular cell its coordinates for this offset command is always 0 and 0, but this only possible if we subtract the value of I, that is 1, by 1 itself, such that the value here coordinates becomes 0 0 value. Okay, and for each round of iteration we want that value of h displayed here to be copied to this section. So for that we write another line of code, that is active cell dot offset I minus 1 comma, want it to be offset by a column 1 range and now I believe our module run perfectly. Let's give it a try by pressing F8. I will minimize this to see the changes in the worksheet accordingly. Okay, as this line has been executed, you see this particular cell has been highlighted, which was our motive. And yeah, after the successful run of the first iterations, the corresponding value of as has been written here with. And if you run the second iterations, then you see that second value of h for the corresponding value of volume has been noted down here. So I'm now pretty sure that my module runs perfectly, so I directly place in the continue, and it will run the whole module for 33 times, filling up the whole column. We can perform the similar tasks with this solver tool as well. For that, as stated earlier, I need to record my macro, and as I'm going to perform the tasks by solver tool, I'll give it a name as VBA solver. Now I move to data solver, and like we have done what we have done previously, we here select the total volume, and at first we want the height corresponding to the volume of 100 gallons by changing the shell, this one. So we press solve here, and it has found us a solution. We press OK. Now we need to stop our recording, and to view our code we again move back to the Visual Basics. This is how our solver tool has performed the action. If you closely inspect, then you will see these two lines of codes are similar, so you can select and delete one of them, and like what we have done previously, we want all those actions to be done while we perform our tasks by solver tool. So you can simply select and copy those lines of codes. Here we have created another shop, that is function without any arguments, and we have deemed I as an integer, and again select the range as b16 before the iteration begins, and like previously we are running our code for 33 number of times, so I has been set from 1 to 33, and This one was from goalseek, we don't need it here, so we can simply delete it. And this next I must come here after solver. Okay, and this active cell I'll copy it, and this needs to come below solve. Okay, and like previous adjustments, I need to make those in this module too. I'll copy this to change the value of row for 33 number of times, and I think rest of those will work. So let's give it a try. And before trying, you need to make sure that under the tool and reference you have checked the solver button here. And one thing, that we want the solutions for individual edge to be listed in this column, which is 2 units offset from this volume. So we need to make that change accordingly here. Okay, that's what this code is going to execute. Now you can check whether your module runs properly or not by pressing F8. Okay, if you minimize this window, then you see after these lines of codes have been executed, these cells have been highlighted like what we have did during goalseek, and yes, it has found a solution. And if you press OK and again press F8, then that solution has been highlighted or copied here. And you again press F8 and it has found the solutions for the volume of 200. So, and this has been copied here along. So one thing we have noticed is that for 33 number of times you will be prompted to press that OK button. You can simply bypass that by writing here true. It will just simply ignore and give you the final output as shown here. So you can save it, and this is how you automate your tasks with VBA. But one thing here, if you change the boundary conditions like length from 12 to 15, then it's not going to make any changes here. So our automation is still not live, and if you submit this module to your coworkers, then you should ask him or her to rerun the module from developer and macros for each change in the boundary conditions. And in the next screencast, we'll learn how to make those solutions more lively.